William Ellis,
Here.
Trevor Sager,
Here.
Scott Oldham,
Here.
Pamela Samples, Dan Swafford. Dan,
He's muted.
Is that Dan Swafford?
yeah.
Okay.
He has to do it himself.
Dan, you'll need to unmute.
If you want to talk.
Okay, well, I don't want to spend too much time on technical difficulties. And we just have to wait for him to unmute,
Text him.
if you could. All right, approval of minutes for the regular meeting, September 11th and September 25th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
And just so you know, we're reaffirming everything from the last meeting, just to make double sure we've got it covered, since there was only 2 in attendance.
Okay,
William Ellis,
yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Dan Swafford. Motion carries.
All right. Action to pay accounts payable, vouchers, and payroll.
So moved. Second.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Dan Swafford. Motion carries.
All right, seeing no resolutions. First is ordinances on first reading, ordinance 2023-15, general obligation bond ordinance. Who has this?
Well, we've talked about it a couple of times, about our debt replacement bond. So I did a little sheet here. There's a couple up there you can share. And this will be to go on the maintenance building for the street department's portion. The bond will be for $1.5 million, and after we pay the expenses for the bond, Indiana Bond Bank, and the issuance of the bonds, we will have $1,390,000 to spend on the building. The tax rate was in ¡22 was 0.0832, and we pay the final payment of the police and fire bond this year. When we did that, we had some cash reserve in that fund, so the DLGF made us use the cash reserve, and so our rate went down to 0.0412 for this year. So with the town hall bond going on to the tax rolls next year, and this new bond, that would make a $321,525 payment annually, and that's just $24,525 more than we had been paying for the police and fire building, and our rate will go to 0.0659, and it'll stay that for the duration of the loan. And the town hall bond will be paid off in 2033, and the general obligation bond would be 2035.
And for public knowledge, we met on this, and for the best of our abilities, when we figured it out, and we factored in the actual new assessment growth, not just the dollar amount of assessment, but new properties coming on the rolls, it doesn't look like we're going to see an increase. And matter of fact, an increase of over 2022, which was the last full year of the bond, and it looks like it'll be pretty much stable. I mean, would you agree with that summation from what the
Yes.
best of our abilities? I mean,
Yes.
and if it's, some may be a little bit higher, but some's going to be lower. And that's what we found and that's the way it is every year. Some's higher, some lower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sandy, quick question.
Yes.
I apologize, I'm probably looking at this wrong. So the combined total between, disregard, I just figured it out now. Because we're not combining the 295 and 297. Or are we?
No, the 297 will be paid off, and it'll be replaced by the town hall bond, which is the 194,525 for the tax base
Right.
portion. The water and sewer both contribute to that bond, so that helps keep the payment
Okay,
lower.
I got it now.
Okay.
Thank you. I was looking at it backwards.
Okay. Any public comment on this? Council discussion? Council action?
First reading.
First reading.
Okay. Thank you. All right, the ordinance is on second reading. Adoption of the 2024 budget, ordinance 2023-10 for appropriations and tax rates. We've discussed this at numerous meetings. Is there anything you want to add to it, Sandy, or?
No, I mean, I think at the last meeting, I just read the total from the ordinance, and we have a little breakdown if you have any questions on the different budgets. You had asked me about the increase in miscellaneous professional.
Yes.
I wanted to further explain to you that, oh, my battery just went dead, that we had moved Mike Farmers from personal service, since he agreed to work on a contract,
Right.
down to miscellaneous professional. That was 45,000 of that increase.
Okay.
So it was deducted from the personal services and then added back in. So it looked like a big increase for miscellaneous professional, but it's actually only 10,000. And that was due to us adding Rick Kopic, and then also allowing a little bit for Baker Tilly if we needed help
Okay.
with the budget or anything next year.
And
Because they
like-
helped us this year with our levy.
That way it's budgeted, it's not pulling out of
Right.
reserves. And that answers that, so thank you very much. Any public comment on this? Council discussion? Council action?
Move approval of adoption of the 2024 budget, which is ordinance 2023-10, for appropriations and tax rates for 2024.
I'll second.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
He has to be seen and heard, so
Okay.
unless he can be seen, he can't participate.
okay, thank you. Motion carries.
All right, ordinance 2023-12 to amend ordinance 2022-15, fixing of salaries for the budget year 2023. Is that you again, Sandy?
Yeah, that's, we talked about that one last time too. It's just adding back in the lineman. That position has been existing, but in this year's salary ordinance, I didn't have it. I left it blank because it was vacant field. So Mike has promoted someone into that position, so I needed to amend the salary ordinance and add that information in. And then the master mechanic is in the street department, and we have a gentleman that is very mechanically talented and is helping all the departments, and so that figured in for a little more money. It's like $1 an hour, so.
Okay. All right, any public comment on this? What, you want to talk, Mike? Okay.
I just asked $1 an hour, that was it, for being the town's mechanic?
Kurt.
Okay.
You know, like with so many things, we kind of grow them small and then try to add to them later.
I'll let it go.
All right, council discussion? Council action?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-12 to amend ordinance 2022-15, fixing of the salaries for budget year 2023.
Second, sorry.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, ordinance 2023-13 to amend section 52.134 of the Ellettsville Town Code to revise the stormwater system user fee base rate. Public hearing and third reading set for November 9th, 2023.
And the only reason for the additional hearing was that we couldn't get the ad published in time in the paper for this meeting, so
Okay,
no action need to be taken. We'll just have a third reading, and it'll be up for possible passage.
Does it need to be tabled?
No, because it's already been noticed as it'll be heard at that particular meeting, so.
okay,
It won't be the next meeting, that's
Right.
next Monday, it'll be November 9th.
9th.
right, okay. All right, ordinance 2023-14 requiring developers to post bond for existing streets. And is that Kip? Is that Mike? Is that Sandy? Is that Denise? Or Denise?
Whoa.
Hot potato.
So, we have a lot of construction going on in Ellettsville. And sometimes adjacent subdivisions are affected by construction on a separate site that doesn't pertain to the particular development where the street damage occurs. So many times Kip has to work with a developer to try to get him to pay part of it or all of it. And the town shouldn't be responsible for repairing those streets because it is on the developer. So we requested Darla prepare this ordinance so we can bond the streets. Developers have a $100,000 bond to cover any street repairs for the duration, for adjacent properties, for adjacent developments, for the duration of the project.
Okay. Kip, did you want to add anything? Or Mike? Are we good?
Yes, we're good.
All right. Any public comment on this? Seeing none, council discussion?
So how far out are we going to consider adjacent? I think that was the word you used.
Where they have to take their construction vehicles. So it's usually an adjacent street to get into their projects.
So adjacent to the work.
Yes.
Okay, but if we're building a housing complex, we may negotiate 3, 4, 5, 6 streets to get there. What are we considering adjacent that they're going to have to bond?
Well, we were looking at one project in particular when we came up with this. We would probably take a look, Kip and I, and see if the adjacent, what we consider adjacent streets would be affected, or we would require them to have a specific construction entrance.
Well, I don't know that I'm particularly good with what we think. We need to put down in writing what we are going to do.
Sure.
I mean, Darla, would that pass legal muster just,
Well,
I mean,
we may need to tinker with the wording a little bit, but I think what we were trying to do was, if you have a street that's, any street in the subdivision that's already been accepted in the town's inventory, if the developer is running his equipment up and down those streets to get to the new streets that he's paving, then he can be expected to have to pay for repairs to those streets.
In
So
the-
there's maybe a better way we can word it, but.
In the grading permits, we do ask them to identify their construction entrance. So I don't know if that helps you.
Well, no, not really, because we're just, and again, I don't doubt the need for this, but we've just kind of left it up to what we think. We need to have something specific. Because again, who's to say that they did the damage? Now we're in a court case where I didn't do the damage. It was a semi-truck that was delivering down the street that did the damage. You know, are we 2 blocks out, 3 blocks out, all the way to 46, all the way once we get off the interstate? I mean, how far are they having to insure? This just seems overly burdensome without some type of definitive, this is how far out you're going to be held responsible.
Okay.
I mean, because again, they may have to negotiate a major feeder street, some of the minor feeder streets, and the neighborhood streets. Who's to say they caused the damage, and/or how far do they actually have to go with it? I can get if we're bringing in a wide load or an overly weighty load, okay, I get that. But how far is too far and how far is not enough? And just to kind of leave it up in the air, quite frankly, seems ripe for her to have to go to court to defend this and cost us more money than what this would insure.
Darla, are we able to reword it that they have to establish a transportation path to their, and that then we could specify what streets in that transportation path? Would that kind of be more what you're talking about, Scott, that?
Well, I guess my question is, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm trying to avoid the second, third order effect. We built the road, so we're gonna make them insure the road, even though everybody else travels on it without having to insure it? Why are we making them necessarily insure the road?
Well,
For their
during
use of it.
construction, if you have,
I get it.
if you, I mean, the triaxles, when you have
That's my,
50 triaxles, or
That-
maybe 100,
that is my question. Are we doing it by weight? And at what level do they have to have this? If it's a guy building one house, does he have to insure this? Do we have to have the $100,000, or is there a size or a weight or a contemplated size of the equipment or something like that?
Wouldn't we look at how the road was
Well, ultimately,
deteriorate?
the developer himself, not the contractor building the homes in a house. Yeah, the contractor's gonna have concrete trucks, delivery trucks, all that. But the developer is ultimately responsible, I feel like, for the project in whole. So no matter if you got one house or 20 houses going in there, the developer of that specific property will be responsible for that bond itself. But I see Scott's point, I mean, because we got, how else to describe it? This last one we had, there's only one specific route to get into the property, and it was 2 streets, and both them streets failed.
Right.
And so
Again, I'm
they-
not denying the need.
Right.
What I'm saying is we need to tighten it up, because all these questions I've just thrown out, everybody went,
Well, I don't know how we would tighten it.
Well, I mean, again, are we gonna, if you're using triaxles, if you're using overweight machinery, you know, if it's 6 guys in a pickup truck building a house, how are you gonna find them at fault when it's normal usage of the roadway? I guess my question is, are we doing something abnormal with that roadway? Would be my thing. Because you don't see triaxles in a neighborhood very often.
that's in excess of the design?
Right.
What-
It says that are damaged by the developer's heavy equipment during construction, so I mean, it's gonna be an observation thing, the condition of the street before the
Correct.
project starts, and how it develops during
That's the way I would look at it.
construction.
The
And
road
it's-
was fine beforehand, and then this development, they started building, and all of a sudden we have deterioration.
well, we monitor the construction, and when it begins, we work with them on what are proper routes in and out of the project, and
Well, but again, now here we're leading somewhere. You may use these defined routes and you're gonna
Right.
insure these defined routes, not an area around.
Right, because adjacent may not be defined routes, maybe 3 or 4 streets getting to that, correct, Sal?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, look at, you know, where I live. When they're building their houses in the back, there's only 2 ways in and out, but they're building one house at a time. There's no triaxles involved. There's really no heavy machinery involved. You know, having been up there, the biggest thing in Winterport is a roofing truck. So now we're gonna make them post a $100,000 bond?
no, we're talking about the developers,
I get
not
it.
the individual.
It is the
construction
developer
units.
doing this. They've already had the infrastructure in place years ago. They had most of the streets in place years ago, and now they're just filling out that thing. So so we're gonna hold $100,000 for years?
There's a timeline out.
Right, or, well, kind of. It says 180 days or the length of the building permit or other construction authorizations, whichever is longer. So how long can we let a construction authorization go?
Pretty long time.
Right. Again, guys, I don't doubt the need, and I agree with the need. Let's just tighten it up somehow, some way, so we're not all having to, simple questions we can't define even in an ordinance. We were always gonna have some aberration, I get that. You know, but again, we need to have something here that says, look, vehicles in excess of X number or beyond the normal, or however you wanna word it. Because if 5 pickup trucks building a house, our street should be able to handle that. Even if they're coming and going to lunch and the hardware store and everything else.
So if our streets were to handle that, then there wouldn't be no damage. So therefore, I mean.
Right, but now,
Why would you have to specify whether if it's a small truck or a large truck? I don't-
because now we're getting into this $100,000, that's definitely gonna be an impact to people building houses or to developers building houses, because we may hold it for years.
We offered them the option to purchase the CD, and currently that's at 5.1%, and that interest all stays in the developer's CD and refunded to them at the end of the project, so it's.
$100,000.
They can also do a letter of credit and a surety bond.
Which still cuts into their ability to letter of credit and bond other things.
Yes.
Darla,
Yes.
Are we able to pass the ordinance, I mean, I know it's kind of vague, but right now, and then tighten up the language if you dig into it, or would you prefer it's all just held off?
I would rather, given the discussion, that it be held off until everyone agrees on the language.
So Scott, what are you wanting in there? Are you wanting an approved travel?
I'm just wanting some definitions of
Right.
what does adjacent mean, what does, some of the other things here.
Is adjacent?
That was just described whenever it was being presented.
Okay.
So,
So
again,
as
there's
the-
nothing in here.
I was trying to say streets
Right.
next to the subdivision. the
Right,
new
but again, my
subdivision.
question was, how far out?
I get it.
We have another meeting Monday, so let's take a stab at it, and we'll go for some length of run as far as.
Well, so here we are in 4. A financial guarantee shall also be required for construction of new houses in a pre-existing subdivision. Here we're back to 4 guys in a pickup truck.
We'll put some weight on it, too.
There we go.
Okay,
Some weight, length of run, designated construction paths. Something else. I'm sure there's something else we need. We'll see you next Monday on this one.
Again, I don't even mind if we go down the road of passing an ordinance against heavy trucks in neighborhood streets or things like that, and then dovetailing this off of that. But right now, we don't have that. To my knowledge, we might, but
No,
I
we
haven't heard
don't.
it discussed.
and could we, in lieu of this, I mean, this is just me speculating, pass a weight limit on like city streets, and then for developers that need above that weight, for they're taking any vehicle that weight, they have to post a bond for that. So that would exclude the 4 guys in a pickup truck. But if you do have the triaxle that's gonna be above X amount of tons, so it doesn't matter where they go, if they're gonna be traveling on the street with that heavy,
Well, but here, let's flip that around. So you have a neighbor wants to do a load of gravel, they bring in a triaxle. That's not as simple now as calling up going, hey, can you bring me, 2 tons of gravel, and they decide to bring a triaxle.
right,
Because I don't have a permit for that, now I gotta get a permit. Depending upon what our time, effort, and energy is involved in getting the permit.
Right, they
that
may say
make
no.
that Right. So we may be, again, that second, third order effect
Right.
of, I mean, I would be comfortable with if you're designating construction entrances for these larger projects, here's your construction route of travel, because that's easier for you now to examine, both before and after, as opposed to just saying, well, the adjacent, now you gotta go.
And that's what's going on now. And in fact, we've had some dealings with the construction people, and they've actually helped us out on a couple roads that they did damage.
Hey,
So
guys.
this is for prolonged construction, not for individual triaxles for,
As long as we tighten it up, I'm
Individual
completely good
project.
with it, be more than happy to vote for it.
okay.
because we understand what the intention is, but 3 councils now may say, no, that's, the guy hauling gravel with the triaxle.
I'll still be here, I can tell them.
But he brings up a valid point. This is one of those ordinances that's gonna sit there, and sit there, and sit there for probably decades before somebody decides to change it, and the only thing they'll likely change is bump up the dollar figure. So if we don't do it right now, again, where do we get a gotcha case sometimes down the road?
I mean, Darla, what's your opinion of what Scott said? Is there too much ambiguity in, as written? And,
Well, I guess from the comments that I've heard from council, you believe there's too much ambiguity as it's written. So I guess let's let Denise and Mike Farmer and Kip and I try to work on it this week so it can be in a different shape for the next meeting.
I guess as an attorney, if this were litigated, is there too much ambiguity? Would you think, would we be getting ourselves in a pickle over here? Or would you rather it tightened up if we can do it?
Well, when I wrote it, I thought it was perfect.
Okay,
So, obviously.
I
So,
understand.
give me a chance to rethink this.
Okay.
And
How about I give it till next Monday to answer that question?
that's what we're going to do.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, so,
So do we need to table this, or are you good?
I would, please.
Move to table.
Second.
William Ellis?
yes.
Trevor Sager?
Yes.
Scott Olda?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, flood report. Anything to report, Mike?
Moving right along with Vine Street, and that's all I'll say. Take a gander, go down there yourself. They're gonna get finished this year.
Awesome. All right, Envision Ellettsville update. Anybody here from Envision Ellettsville?
No report.
All right. That's Dan
that's
Rary,
Dan
not Dan
Rary.
Swap. Thank you, Dan. We were, yep,
Thanks, Dan.
So Dan's,
right. So it changed the minutes to reflect that, correct, Sandy? The Dan Swap?
Yes, I
Okay.
will. I had marked him on Zoom, so I'll just go mark that right.
Gotcha. All right. I'm seeing no old business, no new business. Privilege of the floor. Any public comment about anything that's not been on the agenda tonight? All right, supervisor comments. Mike?
Just thanks for being here tonight and getting our business done, appreciate it.
Jimmy?
Thank you, appreciate it.
Kevin? Kip?
Just one thing, the community crossings grant, on that part, the contracting company finished up all the paving about a week or so ago, so all of it's done now.
Awesome.
Good too.
Denise?
Just wanted to let you know the log cabin's moving right along. The steel beams have been removed by the mover, and the foundation, the framework's all done, and then they'll come back and finish the foundation
Is that going to be this year, you think, or probably next year?
pretty soon.
Okay. Sandy?
We met with our health insurance group, JA Benefits, and they've worked out a arrangement with IU Health, who we currently are with, for a 2-year rate hold on our health insurance premiums, but they would like us to do a physical each year, and then we offer the employees an incentive for doing that physical. That's just to try to keep a healthy workforce. So, wanted to let you know, 2-year rate hold.
Okay.
Good.
Is that what the employees want to do? As far as the physical and whatnot you're talking about, or is that just purely optional?
Well, it's highly encouraged, and we do have to offer an incentive for them to get the physical. But it will be their choice. If they choose not to,
Okay.
then, you know.
No one's losing their job if they don't take a physical.
Or their
Nope.
insurance coverage or anything like that?
Correct,
No.
yeah. All right. Any council comments? I just want to thank all of you for having a quorum tonight and being here this late meeting to get business done for the town. And at this time,
Not that late comparatively to the last few meetings.
yep. This time I know of no other business to come before the council. Meeting adjourned.
Make bedtime, Jimmy.